Welcome to Rubberband Live, the Australian recruitment and talent acquisition vodcast and podcast. I am Eden Haddock, your host and the creator of Rubberband, the recruitment network for all. Let's go live. And we are live. Welcome everyone out there, and welcome everyone who's listening on playback as well, but particular welcome to everyone who is with us live today. This is our final Rubberband Live for 2023, so big thank you to everyone who has been joining throughout the year. And today is around how to nurture an effective partnership between agency and internal recruiters. But before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I work on, the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people. I recognise their continuing connection to the land and waterways. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and I would like to extend this to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Now, we've got a large panel to introduce, but before we do, Jennifer McDonald sends her sincere apologies. She's very, very unwell, and we send you our love and our wishes for you to get well soon, Jen. We're thinking of you. Now, let's introduce the panel. So let's start with Lainey McDonald. How you doing, Lainey?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. Hi, everyone. I'm Lainey. I specialise in cybersecurity recruitment here at Circuit. I've been here for a few years now, and I initially started off focusing on DevOps and cloud, but quickly realised that cyber was a real passion of mine. So now I head up the cyber desk, and I also am the Explorer lead for the AWSN, as another passion of mine is helping more women find a career in cyber. So that's me.
Amazing. Thank you, Lainey. I'll go around the circle as I can see people. The next person is Rosie McAlister. Hello, Rosie.
Hello, thank you for having me. And yeah, I'd like to acknowledge that I am a NAM, and also my pronouns are she, her. I work at Aquent. I am a senior talent agent and I specialize in human-centered design. So yeah, that's a whole spectrum of design. And then my passion that I do as well is accessibility, digital accessibility recruitment. And I'm excited for today. So thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm excited too. I'm excited and I'm loving it already. We're 2 minutes in and I'm having a ball. Now, just a reminder, anyone out there, please throughout the session, pop any questions that you have for the panel in the box and we will try to address as many as we can over the next 45 minutes. Up next, Paula Kilby. Hello, Paula.
Hi, good morning, Eden. Nice to see you again.
Great to see you.
My name's Paula. Thank you. Paula Kilby. I've been in the talent acquisition space for way too many years, but currently I am TA manager here at Control Cybersecurity. So we're in the cybersecurity services space. So that's what I do, and I'm an internal person, internal recruiter.
One of our internals. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Paula. Speaking of internals, we've got another one of our internals. So over to you, Chris Newman.
Hi, Eden. Thanks for having us along today. So I'm Chris Newman. I'm about to complete my 13th year of recruitment. The last 2 have been internal, and before that was on the agency side. And that's been across a few different disciplines. At the moment, it's kind of construction engineering. Before that was a lot of consumer goods. That's me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Chris. And great to get your perspective from both sides as well. So really excited that we've got you here with us today. And finally, last but not least, Martyn Hill. Hello, Martyn.
Hi, Eden. Thanks for having us here today. Much appreciated. Great topic as well, by the way. So looking forward to the discussion around that across agency and internal. My background has been 12 years within the recruitment space, very similar to Chris. I started off in agency. I went internal for about 2 years and then returned back to the world of agency. So I've done 10 years agency all up, 2 years internal with an engineering company, predominantly focused on the mining blue collar space. So anything sort of from trade assistants all the way up to operators, excavators, dump truck, all-rounders, and everything in between, including trades. Currently, I work for Zenith Search as a manager for the mining blue collar team, so working with a number of mining clients and contractors. Still in the agency.
Wonderful, wonderful. And thank you so much for getting up so early to join us from WA. It's so great that we've got perspectives from all over Australia. So this is wonderful. Now, where I really want to start today is around, and we've been talking about this for years, right? This is around candidate experience. And I think what would be really great for the audience is for us to do a walkthrough of what good candidate experience looks for you and looks like for you. And, you know, for us to kind of nut that out. So tell me about, Lainey, tell me about your recruitment process. What does it look like for you at Circuit?
Yeah, just making sure I'm off mute. I think good candidate experience, you know, involves like multiple touch points. It's about not necessarily finding them a role kind of straight away or throwing the first role that comes to you and throwing it at them. It's really understanding and listening to what it is they're actually looking for. Because, you know, if you place a candidate in a role and they're not happy, you know, it doesn't work quite well for anyone. And I think another thing that's really important at the moment as well is trying to meet your candidates face to face where possible. I think after COVID, when we were all doing things virtually, I think that can sometimes get forgotten, that it's good to like always meet face to face where you can. And yeah, I guess another main thing as well is transparency towards your candidates. I always try and think if it were me receiving any kind of news or receiving an update, how I would want to hear it and kind of take it from there. So yeah.
Couldn't agree more, Lainey. That's wonderful. Rosie, how about yourself? What does a good candidate experience look like for you?
Wow, it's a big question. There are so many touch points throughout the whole journey, and I look after a contractor desk as well as studios, as well as permanent. So I think tailoring my approach for each one. And then the big thing is leading with empathy. So putting yourself in their shoes and going through the process as informed as you can be with them. And there's no point, and we've all been in the position of like, I really want to get this person in the role, but it's also being really honest about the culture, where they're going to be sitting, their touch points, what's a day look like, what does 3 months look like, taking people on that visual journey and meeting them where they are as well. So like when I find a candidate, really, you know, getting their strengths and highlighting it and taking them on a journey so they feel empowered through the whole process. And yeah, so empathy, communication, and really good follow-up at the end as well. Catch up with your candidate, have coffee, you know, it's not a transactional deal. And then, yeah, I think it's just that information throughout the whole process is so vital. And sometimes I meet people in person. I'm really wary of people's accessibility needs as well. And I think as we talk about COVID and what's happening, I think sometimes people, tend to want to meet on video chat. So just asking people how they would like this process to go. So mapping out a bit of a plan on how they see it, and it stops any of that anxiety. And when internal recruiters give you their plan as well, that also just helps the whole process. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I think that, moving away from the one size fits all approach is critical, and it's key for so many reasons. And I know we will be covering off some of those in a moment, Rosie. So that was wonderful. Now, Paula, you specialize in a highly technical space, so I'm really keen to hear from you what CX looks like for you.
It's top of mind for me, and for anybody who knows me, I've been quite vocal about candidate experience. There is a rather nice article that's still sitting on my LinkedIn profile that's still getting heaps of hits as well. So candidate experience for me is incredibly important. Right from the start of when someone applies, tailoring that messaging to be from a real person, somebody that a candidate can pick up the phone to with a real email. So every time anybody applies to any one of my roles, they've got my details. At any point in time, they can pick up the phone or send me a message or an email. Every single candidate that responds to one of my job adverts, whether they're successful or not, gets a tailored message from me. And it's pretty easy to set it up. And I would like to say right now is I don't have an ATS where I am right now. Working for a small company. So I use LinkedIn, and you can still do it for LinkedIn. So whether they're successful or not, candidates get a response from me, and they also get a response as to why they've not been successful. So again, I've set up templates, really simple to do, Took a bit of time to do to start with, but I'm just using my templates. So they know instantly. And I promise you, from an employer brand and a personal brand perspective, even if you do that much, it's a huge tick in the box for both your company and your candidates. They will certainly come back to you. All throughout the process, it's about leading with empathy. I 100% agree with you, Rosie. It's about mapping out a plan, about telling your candidate about the process, how many interviews, what's going to happen. And also, I think feedback, absolutely, along every step of the way is 100% important. You know, we don't ghost. I will never ghost. And if I have, I'm quite happy to put my hand up and say, you know, I don't think I have, but I'm 100% open to say, you know, if I have, I do apologize. But, you know, it is possible to do it. And I'm really tired of seeing so many posts on LinkedIn about ghosting. It's shocking. It shouldn't happen. There's no need for it to happen. Just treat people with the respect that you would like to be treated with. It's not hard.
That's
it's about using it's about using the technology that you have as an enabler to help you be successful. That's what it's about. If you've got the technology, then use it and train your people to use it. Train your people to understand the importance of technology in the candidate experience and hiring space. It's not hard. So I'm going to stop because I could continue.
You could. And we all could. And look, Ryan, thank you so much for highlighting that. I think that, and it was what I was thinking as well, is, you know, and Lainey as well, but Paula and Rosie both use that term empathy and respect. And that's what it's all about. I agree. Now, how about yourself? Chris, tell me about what good CX looks like for you.
Yeah, I agree with Paula that it goes down to the very, very start of the process. I think there's still quite a lot of people whose job application process is quite lengthy and quite complex and quite complicated. And it can take 20, 30 minutes to fill out your online form sometimes to put your CV across. I think we have a responsibility to streamline that process, but also a responsibility to know that if someone spent half an hour applying for your job, they're then involved in the process and they need to be treated with a little bit of respect, and they deserve some communication and some feedback on the effort they put in. So I think, at the start, we need to do a little bit more there. And then during the process, everyone said there's only so many adjectives you can use. You need to communicate very strongly. You need to be very empathetic. And you need to map out a very clear and concise pathway so everyone knows at every step of the journey what's coming up next and what they've done right, what they've done wrong. And then feedback at the end is crucial.
Wonderful. Well, I'm not seeing any differences here between agency and internal, so we're definitely tackling the theme here very well. But what about yourself, Martyn? What does a good candidate experience look like for you in your role?
Yeah, great question. I'm very much aligned in the way that Paula approaches the candidate experience. So even being an agency recruiter, I always make sure that my ads are as accessible as possible. So my contact details will constantly be throughout, regardless of whether it's a high volume role from a trade assistant where you're going to get 500, 600, 800 applications. My number's always there. Email address all throughout LinkedIn, my social media platforms as well. Happy to field random inbound questions about the roles, pre their application process, because that's just as essential as them applying for the roles. And then I like to go one step further and use integrations like Sourcer, so that the candidate can background check me and see what the candidate experience has been like for others that have come through, clients and candidates. Good or bad, it'll all be there on Sourcer. They can have a look and look me up just as much as we look them up through the recruitment process. I think it's only fair that they can check us and see that we're a genuine recruitment company. We've been around the sort of roles we recruit for. Helps set that standard of what to expect before they've even started their application, so to speak. So I find that adds a lot of value. Then during the candidate experience is really, for me, about building those relationships and nurturing them for the life cycle of not just their placement, but their careers. So I've had candidates that I've worked with for 7 or 8 years throughout their careers, and I've placed them maybe on 4 or 5 different assignments, and they just reach back out to me again as new roles become available, or they look for a change or see something that I've posted online, or they refer candidates to me that because they had such a good experience coming on board, we can sort of assist them that way, and they know what the experience will be like because I sort of set that expectation for them early, which is great. And there's nothing better than going out to a mine site and seeing some of your previous placements still there, 7 or 8 years later. And they come over and have a catch up and say hi.
I can imagine. That's amazing. Thank you, Martyn. Thank you. Well, this is around partnership. So what I want to do now is I'm going to start with the agency peeps. So I want you to talk me through an effective partnership that you have with an internal team, and to tell me what makes that partnership so special. So, Lainey, I'm going to kick off with you. Tell me about an internal team that you've really got that special partnership with.
I always think with building out partnerships, it's again kind of like when you're dealing with your candidates as well. Like, you need to have really effective communication and have really clear processes in place, and just really understanding what you need from each other. So like for my clients, like I really have to understand what they are struggling with and help provide a solution, because that's the reason essentially that I'm there. So I just try and make it as smooth and easy as possible, because it's, you know, internal people are so busy across multiple roles. So if I'm trying to help fill even 1 or 2 cyber roles, like that's my job, and I just want to make it as easy for them as possible. So yeah, I think it's just setting out like the standards and expectations from the beginning. And I think I probably sound like a broken record here, but I think just that like face-to-face connection or Zoom if needs be, like really helps to strengthen a relationship as well, because it kind of takes it away from being like client, like you become friends essentially, if that makes sense. And I just hear that so much.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, and when I reflect, I've been on both sides, agency and internal, throughout my career, and pretty evenly split actually. And you do, I mean, from my agency days, I've got close friends that were clients, and again, from a client side, I've got close friends that are agency, and you know, forming that that special bond is down to, again, mutual respect, Lainey. So I completely agree with everything that you say there. Rosie, how about yourself? Tell me about a really effective partnership that you have with an internal team, and why it's so special.
I'm sorry, you can see my greyhound in the back. He might come and join. I mean, working from home. I actually thought about this, and not naming names, I recently partnered really closely with a really large client that everyone would know the brand, and they brought me on board as a specialist recruiter in the HCD space, human-centered design, to help find a director who may have not come through their channels. So, you know, and one of the things we did is I put a lens of, you know, getting applicants that they may not see. So I tried, you know, running through my ad through a gender split, making sure I was using the right terminology. I worked closely at, you know, taking names off the CVs and folios and, you know, reaching out to people. But I think the partnership was there as they really saw the value of working with me, and I felt that. And so I felt the value, and to me, it was, warts and all, they talked about their process and how it can be really long and arduous. And, you know, we were vulnerable with what we, you know, could be barriers for the talent. And that was already setting a great standard for me to be able to talk to the talent about what this process looks like. And when you, the more you know, when you're briefing and talking to a talent, the better the buy-in you're going to get, and they're going to come on that journey. So I think the best partnerships for me is when you are both working pretty closely as partners, as like colleagues in unison, and understanding what the challenges are, not sugarcoating it, and supporting them. So yeah, that's probably like a little, I could go on, but I'll give you a high level snippet. But yeah, that's what I love. I love that vulnerability and being able to be like, these are the problems we have. This is what I have. Let's come together. Because normally when they're reaching out to an agency or a recruiter like me, there's a pain point, right? They haven't found their own ways. You know, there's a cost involved to using us. So they're coming to us for something, and it's really making sure that I personally believe I have that value and can bring that, but also them seeing it as well. And that's a beautiful partnership.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, because really at the end of the day, any recruitment agency can provide you a shortlist. Let's face it, right? But it's that value add, and what further you can provide, and the value that they're getting from the partnership, not just from the shortlist. So I completely agree, Rosie. That was amazing. Now, Martyn, yourself, tell me about an effective partnership that you have with an internal team and why it's so special.
Yeah, great. So in terms of myself, probably one of the best partnerships, or several partnerships that we've emulated at the moment, is really just our business being an extension of their internal recruitment team. So try and make the process and that partnership and alignment as simple as possible. You're not reinventing what they've told you and how they want it. You're giving it to them exactly the format and the way that they like. And then just like you said, adding that additional value, being a value-added partner throughout the process of, you know, whether you can add HR support, you know, IR management of the workforce. One particular client that sort of worked with sort of on and off over sort of 7 or 8 years, the mining space is, you know, very rampant with autonomous mining transitions. So I've had a few test cases of ramping those up and ramping them down and then doing the outplacement and redeployments. That's quite a significant topic at the moment, especially in WA, the mining space. So being able to manage that ramp up, the workforce, the engagement, the retention piece, and then the redeployment at the end, that takes away so much stress from the internal teams that are busy trying to focus on their internal full-time staff and redeploying them to other areas, maintaining their corporate social responsibility and their brand. Because nothing would look worse than sort of laying off 300 plus operators from a mine site with nowhere for them to go. At least we've got partnerships with other companies that we can sort of reach out to and go, hey, look, we've got these people who've been working for us for this amount of time. They're known, they're tested, we've got all their compliances. It just makes it a real seamless discussion and just takes away all that pain from their internal recruitment team and just being able to plan ahead for those next steps because we know what's coming next.
Wonderful. What I love there, Martyn, is that consistency between your CX, which we just talked about a moment ago, and the organization's expectations. So the internal team that you're partnering with, what does their CX look like? And how can we make sure from a candidate perspective that they don't know that you're not working for the client? They're receiving the same experience as if they were applying directly with the client, and it's that becoming an extension of their team. I think that's critical and really, really important. And I think a lot of recruiters on the agency side maybe haven't made that connection, that it's important to get to that depth of knowledge of what their clients' expectations are in terms of the candidate journey. So that's already a really big takeaway from me from today. So Martyn, that was awesome. Thank you. Now on the other side, let's go to our internal teams. Tell me about an effective partnership that you've had with an agency recruiter or an agency team, and what made it so special. I'll kick off with you, Paula.
Well, sorry, agencies, but you're not going to like me very much. I have not had only 2 experiences in my entire career where I've engaged an agency that worked with me and could demonstrate the same messaging that I was giving my candidates within their agency. And I don't use agents. I'll be honest, I'm totally transparent. I don't use agencies where I am right now. I haven't found one that is working with me well enough. So I've stripped it all bare. However, there were 2 companies that I worked with in my career that were able to show me, because I did, taking your comment, Martyn, I'm 100% in agreement with you. Unless an agency can demonstrate and show me the kind of messaging that they're sending to their candidates throughout the end-to-end process, I won't work with you. You're representing, my sentiment to that is, and my argument to that is, if you're going to represent my brand in the marketplace for my company, as well as my personal brand, then you and I need to be in sync. If we can't reach an agreement on that, then I won't work with you. It's as simple as that.
You must have been very excited to hear Martyn say that. That's
absolutely. I will not ghost people. I very rarely do it, and I think it's quite prevalent when I introduce myself. Is that when your first question is that I don't have an ATS at the moment. I've worked in a couple of small companies where I don't have an ATS, and I've still managed to do it. So it's, I actually do. When I worked with these 2 agencies, I said to them, show me the messaging that you're sending to your candidates from the time they apply right through. I want to know what your feedback messaging looks like. And, if there's no evidence of a real person and phone number and contact information and feedback, I'm not interested, because to me, that's not how I work. So I think that's one of the things that, I haven't only seen that with 2 agencies. And incidentally, those 2 agencies are still on my panel here, should I need to go with agencies. I've taken them with me. I've worked with them for about 18 years now. And I will still continue to work with them. But I very rarely find an agency, I'm sorry, guys, that has the same representation and care for candidates the way I do. So
the good news is you've got those 2, right, Paula, and you've just met 3 today that do as well. So it's shifting, and I know, like I was in agency 13 years ago, right, and it was very different. I think we are seeing people like Lainey, Rosie, Martyn, and those 2 that you mentioned as well that are that are forming that really true partnership with CX, and it's great to see that change. So I understand.
One thing that I would say also, Eden, is, and also to the audience, is I've worked for quite a few companies that have internal recruiters as well that have an appalling candidate experience.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely atrocious candidate experience. You receive an email from a team. So as a candidate, how can you follow up your application? And you get no feedback, or you get ghosted. And I've actually gone one step further when I was looking for a role, and I've actually approached the HR lead or director and said, did you know this is the kind of experience that I'm as candidates that your TA team are showing? And they don't give a damn. And to me, I'm just gobsmacked. That's my favorite word, gobsmacked, that this even happens. I'm just thinking, do you not care? This is your brand. This is your employer brand that's out there. Do you not care that your team, your talent team, are doing this, or treating your candidates or prospective employees this way? And it just grates with me. So I just wanted to say that side of it as well. So
no, of course. Thank you, Paula. Thank you. Now, Chris, how about yourself? Tell me about an effective partnership that you've had with an agency, or an agency recruiter, or an agency itself, or a team, and what made it so special for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm probably quite lucky enough to have a bit of a different experience to Paula. I've met some really, really good agency recruiters over my time in internal. We've got some really, really solid relationships with them. I think most of that just comes, again, like on the candidate experience, the same with us. Communication is key, but it's also the level of information that people provide. You can tell very, very differently from an agency that's spoken to their candidates and got to know them, and one that you can't, just by the information they present you with their shortlist, by the feedback they give you after the interviews, and just by filling those little gaps for us, and just kind of communicating with us about other opportunities they've got, other places they're going, and things like that, so we can kind of weigh things up from our end as well. So I've been lucky enough to meet some really, really good, thorough agency recruiters that seem to know exactly what they're doing, and it's made my life a lot easier.
Absolutely, and that's really great to hear. And look, I have to say, I'll in terms of being in internal roles for the later part of my career now, I've had both what Paula describes and the positives that Chris decides. So Stephanie, I absolutely agree with Stephanie's comment that just came up, that it's not necessarily sometimes it's just the consultant. And, we have great internal consultants, we have great agency consultants, we have not so great, we have on both sides. So it really does come down to the individual, and it's communities like Rubberband and the others that are out there to continue having these conversations around around candidate experience, around effective partnerships, that's going to continue to shift that dial. So we have all great on both sides, right? So thanks, Stephanie. That's a really great point that you raised. Now, what I would like to ask now, because Paula answered this really well, I'm going to ask you one more question, Chris, now, if that's okay. So Paula really covered off in terms of an agency recruiter that wants to partner with her and what she's looking for in order for her to say, yes, I would partner with them, and what she's not looking for, I suppose. With you, Chris, what are you actually looking for, and what is the best way for an agency recruiter to approach you in an internal role?
Yeah, I have to say I've been quite surprised by the lack of phone calls that I get at the moment. I still think that's the best way to introduce yourself. I think the anonymous emails and the kind of, I've got a candidate, it's all well and good, but if you pick up the phone and get into a conversation, I think that's the best way to do it. Come down to the office, meet the team, get an idea of what we're all about, and that, I don't think there's any way you're going to beat that sort of communication. And then in terms of how we'll select people, it's all down to your industry knowledge in the first instance. If you can sit there and talk to me through the market, how you see opportunities coming, where you see kind of peaks and troughs and patterns, that's all we want to hear from an agency in the first instance. Then naturally back that up with some candidates at the back end, right? But that's how we'll go through our selection process.
Fantastic. And I'm going to ask, because Lainey, Rosie and Martyn, you described an effective partnership really, really well. So you gave us some really, really solid examples of how you've built meaningful partnerships with your clients. What I would love to know is what your approach to bringing on new clients is. Like, how do you target clients for them to get to get that understanding of who you are as a consultant and how you can add value. So Lainey, what's your approach to business development at the moment? Are you doing what Chris has suggested and picking up the phone, or like, how do you go about it?
That's actually super interesting that Chris, you said that you still like a phone call, and because that's amazing. But what I found is that I just find that people's time is so valuable, and maybe it's just me personally, but if someone was calling me in the middle of the day when I'm trying to do my work, I might not be very happy on the other end of the phone. So what I've been doing more recently is doing a first sort of introduction with a personalized video or just a really quick message if they're free for a phone call. I definitely still do call people because you kind of just have to, but that's kind of one approach I've been doing as well, just to kind of test it out and see how people like that approach, which has been going down really well because, sometimes I think a video in your own time is better than a call at the wrong time. But a big thing for new business development this year has been very much different than last year, because this year's been quite challenging. I think we can all maybe agree. But building out a personal brand for me has been really important, so that, if I do call someone and then they have a little nosy on my LinkedIn, they're like, oh, she's very involved, she knows what she's talking about. So I think personal branding has been one area that I've built out for my business development. Also just helping clients with more than just filling roles for them. So whether it be DE&I initiatives or helping them, advocate for their brand out in the market by hosting meetups or attending their meetups or helping out where I can. And I think that just gives a little bit of differentiation to maybe some other agencies as well, just going that one step above. I also find as well, because I speak with so many senior leaders within the cyberspace, that they actually just kind of come to me sometimes for market advice and trends. So unintentionally, a lot of my business development's been quite organic, just due to my presence in the community. So yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to just give you a little tip here. Keep doing the videos. Whenever I've been in an internal role and I get a video, I watch it always. Always. And particularly, I've had some that have been hilarious. I've had some where there's been little role plays happening and people because I love creativity, right? And I think most people that work in anything around people, any people role, we love creativity and we love seeing people, doing crazy and fun things and having a ball with it. So keep doing the videos. They're good. They're good. How about yourself, Rosie? What's your approach to business development when you're looking at new clients or prospects?
Oh, the word business development. I was actually thinking about what Paula said. I am so lucky to work for Aquent. I know that sounds a bit, but I am supported. They understand the way I work in my process. They see me as the brand, not just I think that changes the way, and I have in the past worked at other agencies where I wasn't the front person. So it's so nice to be in a job that I can actually nerd out on design and go to meetups and do post-it notes on walls and I partnered with Grant with Design Outlooks. I'm on the panel for this festival. I literally love this space. And then this year, diagnosed with ADHD, no surprise, probably a lot of recruiters in the same boat. But that also has given me so much empathy in working for, digital accessibility and absolutely loving that space as well, and not having the one size fits all and, working in that. So I am really lucky. I think it does come from a company that I'm very lucky that they, push me and trust me to be, I don't want to get emotional, but I can be authentically me, and I can be that to my client as well and add that value. And there's never a point where, I've had to in this role, in this job, there's no such thing as cold BD. I'm not going to pick up the phone and be like, got any jobs? That's just not who I am. The best thing is right now the dividends is playing because my clients are, my talent who I've placed in roles are going to their HR and been like, if you don't work with Rosie, you are insane. So I'm do the work for me. But I feel like that's who I am. And the reason that's come is this last couple of years, I've been able to be authentically me. And so that is my brand. And I'm not saying words like it's my brand. My brand is doing it because I love what I do. And that actually builds connection. And then BD, honestly, if they're a good person, I like them, we want to work together. I just think that happens, And I've seen partnerships go wrong. I've seen internal recruiters that don't see the value in what I do. And I go, hey, I don't think I'm the right person for you because I want you to see the value in me and we can make this work. So yeah, anyway, that's my business development 101.
No, and it's amazing. Authenticity is key, right? And I love both Lainey and Rosie. You've talked about being out there in your communities of specialization and attending meetups and networking and presenting your true self. That's how you're going to form a connection. You know, you can't form a connection if you're just sending an email saying, these are my services, I'd love some roles, you know? So that's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. How about yourself, Martyn? What's your approach?
Yeah, so when I started in recruitment, you know, BD was always, you know, the sales, you know, cold call, you know, it always came across to me, and it was something I was never really that comfortable with. It was always sort of over-promise, under-deliver, and that never sat right with me. So BD wasn't something I really engaged with because it didn't sit right with my value set. And probably more recently, in the last couple of roles I've been in, I've had that autonomy to be able to really grow my role and discover my style and how that works. And I think for me, it's always just been focusing on what I do well, and that's delivery and partnering with my clients. And I typically try and keep really a core client base that I can recruit for, get holistically across all their departments, divisions, and support them. And if I need to go out and add additional, you know, clients to that base, it's really values, drivers, alignment, and whether they're looking for that genuine partnership. If it's a transactional relationship, then it's probably not for me. If they just want, you know, the war of who's sending the fastest CV, that's not my style. You know, we want to give them the right people, make sure that they fit their process, make sure that they meet our values and drivers and also the clients, and that there's that long-term partnership there. So really it comes down to good delivery, word of mouth, and just really, you know, what clients and candidates say about me. So I try and make sure that that's as clearly articulated on my profile on LinkedIn, and really focus on my branding around that, you know, trying to really push being the solutions guy for any issues that they might have in that resourcing space. That they can come to me and know that I'll do a good job, rather than me just telling them, oh yeah, I can fill all 100 of these roles by Christmas, no worries. It'll be a case of, look, I don't think we can do that, but we can do this, and then we'll see how we go.
Fantastic. And you know what, Paula talked about this as well in terms of it's on both sides. And I love that you mentioned the word values and making sure that, you know, you don't want a transactional relationship with an internal team that is all about just making money. There needs to be a value alignment on both sides, not just one side. And Paula mentioned that it's a two-way street, right? And it's finding that right connection between, you know, client and you know, and the agency or the recruiter or yourself as a consultant. You don't want to be working with those kind of people. And I love that you've highlighted that. You don't want to work with those teams where it's not aligned. So, you know, a lot of people think of agencies sometimes where it's all about the money, and people say cowboys and all of this kind of stuff. But it's at the end of the day, I mean, we're talking to three people where it's the complete opposite. And even to the point, Martyn, where you will walk away from business if there isn't a values alignment. So that's extraordinary. That's been amazing to hear. Now, a couple of questions that came through prior to today that I do want us to cover off, because we've already been talking for 35 minutes. Wowee. AI, the topic of 2023, and I'm sure it will continue to be. Does anyone want to put their hand up and let me know? You know, technology is moving really forward at the speed of light, right? And particularly in our space. Is anyone out of the five of you really embracing AI through your and automation through your recruitment process? Paula, tell me about yourself.
We're actually all doing it. LinkedIn does it for you.
Yep, good point.
Okay, but what it does do is I mean, just as an example, if you're sourcing on LinkedIn, it finds people for you based on the input that you put in. So there's AI, but there's a lot that you can do. In the previous role that I had before this, we had the ATS. We used the ATS to generate messaging for us. We used the AI to generate search tools for us. It's about the key to making this work is embracing it. And again, seeing it as enabling you to focus on the less mundane things so that you can then move towards becoming more of a talent advisory person within the organization. So you shouldn't be seeing it as something that's going to take our jobs away. Absolutely 100% hand on heart. If you are planning on becoming and staying a transactional recruiter, you can say goodbye to your job, because a robot can do that for you and has been able to do that for you for the last 3 or 4 years. But if you're planning on embracing the technology to take the less mundane things away from you, and for example, mundane things is if you're not using your technology, your ATS right now, to filter the candidates that you should be talking to and the ones that you should not be talking to, and using that technology to send nice messaging to the candidates that aren't right or the ones that are right, then what are you doing, basically, in a nutshell? So embrace AI. It's going to help you, and it's going to elevate you, hopefully, if you do it properly, to become more seen as more of a talent advisory type of person and highlight those capabilities in your kit bag.
And do more meaningful work that is going to have an impact, like the work that Rosie highlighted, that she's providing to her clients. We can do more of that.
You can do so much more.
We're not doing the admin. I'm going to call it admin, because filtering through CVs and not actually looking at them in detail and with a perspective, because you've got hundreds of them to go through in an hour. That's not good for anyone. It's not good for us, and it's not good for the candidate that has put in the effort to apply. So I agree.
And also, I kind of wanted to say a bit of a plug here. I've used a product called, Eden, this isn't something that I know that we should be doing, but I mean,
no, it's okay.
There's a great product called Textio.
Right.
Textio is a solution that helps you write better. I used it. I put it into many organizations that I've joined, but I've used it for across the organization, across sales, marketing, not just in recruitment and HR. It helps you write better by using AI to help you understand. So you put text, say you're writing a job advert or a job position description, you write something and it will immediately give you options to help you, word it better. So that's kind of using technology as well. So
that's AI again, right? There we go.
Absolutely. So there are hundreds of tools out there that help you. Not a big fan of Chat GPT, but it's useful. I have used it. So, but yeah, I think there's opportunity out there.
Excellent. Now, Chris, I will ask you this question as well. I think I'll just ask one more around AI, because there's another question that I'm really keen to go around the room with. But Chris, tell me, you put your hand up. How are you embracing AI and automation?
Yeah, so doing our best to learn more about it. But yeah, I have a few, I think Paula touched on it a little bit as well. Like I was looking at the LinkedIn AI through their training the other day, and it was very much AI generated lists of candidates being sent AI generated messages. And I do think there's a little bit of a worry here where things are going to become completely impersonal. And it'll also become very, very easy to spam the market. And I think people stop paying attention so much to their LinkedIn messages. I think you'll lose a lot of value out of it. I think you can tell quite easily when a message has been created by AI as well. It's very formal sounding.
Very easily.
I can't see there being a big desire from people to be inundated with AI generated messages. That I think as recruiters, people use this for our personal touch still. And I feel there's a bit of a danger that we'll lose that and become a bit robotic. So yeah, we are definitely trying to embrace it, and I'm trying to find exploring different options for it. But at the same point, I fear that people might become a little bit over reliant on it. And I think we should be a little bit focusing on that personal touch still.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely agreed. No, I said there's one that's really important I want to get across. So I'm really keen to hear your thoughts around this. I want to know what initiatives or processes are being implemented within your businesses or within your process to create a more inclusive recruitment process for diverse candidates. So Lainey, would you be able to sort of walk us through anything that you're doing currently in this space?
Yeah, I'll keep this really short and sweet because I want to hear Rosie's answer as well. But this year we launched our Force for Good program at Circuit, which is something that was new to us, and it kind of just included lots of training for the team on diversity and inclusion hiring, including like neuro-inclusivity, gender identity, and Indigenous hiring as well. And we also have Eva Walsh here, who's our neurodiversity advocate, and she has a podcast as well, which is called Superpowers and Struggles, where she discusses her own journey with neurodiversity, and she speaks to other people as well. So everyone here at Circuit has individually contributed to our Force for Good program, and very, very excited to kind of build it out into the next year as well. And yeah, I'll let Rosie speak as well.
Sure, Rosie, over to you, Rosie. That's amazing though, Lainey, and hats off to Circuit. That's incredible initiatives that you've rolled out, and I love that you said and more to come into the future, that it continues to evolve. Absolutely amazing. Over to you, Rosie.
I feel a coffee coming on. I'm not going to lie, but that's amazing. I think, I just want to put it out there. I'm not an expert in this space. I have my own lived experiences, but I go with the analogy of your front and back of t-shirt. So what do you say you do, and what do you actually do? So I think at the moment we're seeing a lot of businesses and recruiters go, we want diverse talent, but then they're using pure AI. And so that actually can stop talent being reviewed who may be right for the role due to a biased lens. There's even, we're trying to make safe spaces, but then you ask an organization, do they have access to, a screen reader or captions if someone wants to interview, with ADHD or neurodiverse people? Do you actually send the questions out so they can prepare for the interview and take a minute? Gemma, I can see Gemma's in this, who is my mentor, and some of the things Gemma does is called the edit. So it's not about, it's a whole mentality of death by 1,000 cuts, but also power by 1,000 little things you can do. So I think if people in recruitment go, it's all a bit hard, we need to do this policy procedure, but you can make little changes. Pronouns, I use them, and I ask every single talent, would you like to use your pronouns? And out of the 100 I speak to that are like, no, I'm not interested, the one person will burst into tears and go, thank you for creating a safe space for me. So I think it's about being authentic, and then asking your talent, what adjustments can we do throughout this process to make it easier for you? And when I'm working with a client, what would you like me to ask them? What are some of the things? Do you want to know about their gender affirming policy? Would you like to know about access to the office? Can they actually get in the office? Do you want to know about their working from home policy, that there's lights in the office that are not going to be overstimulating? Do you want me to ask about their parental leave? Is it gendered? Is it not? There's so many things that we can do as agency recruiters. I feel like I've got this sort of I can work with all the corporates to make some little changes, but I could talk about this for days. So I'm going to stop because I know we're running over time, but passionate about this and keen to keep chatting.
Amazing, Rosie. Thank you. I couldn't agree more. And you're absolutely right. We are out of time, but I do want to ask Martyn this question as well, just before we wrap up today. Coming from an industry, historically very, very blue collar and very, very, men's industry historically, I suppose. What initiatives and processes are you implementing in that space, in terms of inclusive hiring or attracting more diverse candidates to your sector?
Yeah, great question. I think keeping the process as simple as possible is also probably a big step. The amount of job ads that I've seen, say, listed on Seek, where it's apply on the external website and there's 50 different forms that they have to fill in. A lot of the mining industry, individuals might not be the most tech savvy, and that's immediately sort of cutting the application pool quite quickly. I run ads where they go straight via Seek, straight to us. There's no sort of in-between parts. If they're not comfortable using the Seek app, there's my number on there, my email address is on there, so they can pick up the phone and have a chat if they prefer. Email me if that's what they prefer as well. To partnering with job agencies where those advertisements might be a bit more clearly represented, or can be discussed in person with the individuals that are looking to get into those particular pathways or streams, to just really selling on the employee value proposition. So being really clear about what's in it for them. It might be lifestyle, roster, camping conditions, whether there's a female-only gym, the security on site. That's quite prevalent at the moment in the mining industry, and they are quite important topics as to what motivates people to apply for roles. And I think probably one of the ads I've run most recently had about 60% sort of female applications versus men, which is huge. So I think it just really changes the paradigm a bit in terms of the stock standard. This is the mine site. This is what's out there. They want to know what the food's like, what's the gym like, what's the camp like. What's in it for them more than anything, and I find the application response is far better and far more diverse without having to really, actively try and pursue those particular diversity targets. You just based on merit, skills, and aptitude.
Amazing. I'm actually, and look, thank you, Lainey, Rosie, Paula, Chris, and Martyn. Thank you for joining today. I'm actually really, really gutted that we've gone over time because I want to keep talking, but I can't. So what I'd love, anyone out there that is listening, all of us are in the Rubberband community. We're happy to continue this conversation in the chat box or on the discussion wall. So, reach out to any of us, join Rubberband if you haven't. A big thank you to the panel. I think this has been a really, really informative session. We've only been able to scratch the surface, though. That's why I'm a little bit gutted, because you've all said such amazing, meaningful things that I want to delve so deep into. But we will continue to do that. Thank you so much, panel, for joining. And a big thank you to everyone that's been attending Rubberband Lives this year. It's been an absolute blast, and I really appreciate your support. And again, to all the listeners of the podcast as well. Thanks again, and have an amazing festive season or break or holiday or whatever you're going to be doing at the end of the year when you're not working for a small period of time. And if you are working, enjoy that too. Have a great end to the year, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks again, panel. See you soon.